For years, the Aston Martin Valhalla felt like a ghost. People saw concept, they saw prototypes, they saw promises, but the actual car seemed trapped somewhere between imagination and reality. The deadlines came and went, speculations changed, the entire engineering plans were abandoned. At one point, even the company building it was fighting its own future. Most supercar projects don't survive that kind of chaos. Most get cancelled, quietly forgotten, buried inside boardrooms and unfinished design files. But somehow the Valhalla refused to die. What started as a smaller companion to the legendary Valkyrie would eventually become one of the most ambitious cars Aston Martin had ever built. A machine born from uncertainty, forged through setbacks, and transformed so many times that the final product barely resembled the original supercar. Because this wasn't just another supercar, it was Aston Martin betting its future on an idea that almost fell apart. And to understand how the Valhalla became one of the most fascinating supercars of the modern era, you need to go back. Back to the moment Aston Martin realized it needed change. For decades, Aston Martin built some of the most beautiful cars on earth. Cars that weren't just transportation, they were a statement. Machines designed to make you feel something every time you looked at them. The company became famous for elegance, luxury, and of course James Bond. But by the late 2010s, the automotive world was changing. Ferrari was pushing technology further than ever. McLaren had become an engineering powerhouse. Lamborghini was building increasingly aggressive machines. And suddenly, beautiful wasn't enough. Aston Martin needed something radical, something capable of changing how the world viewed the brand, something that could prove Aston Martin belonged in the conversation usually dominated by Ferrari and McLaren. Then an opportunity appeared, an opportunity that would change everything: the Valkyrie. When Aston Martin partnered with Red Bull Racing, the entire engineering paid attention. But this wasn't just a normal collaboration. At the center of it stood Adrian Newey, one of the most greatest Formula One designs in history, a man responsible for one of the most fastest racing cars ever built. The result was the Valkyrie. It looked like something from another planet. The car wasn't designed around traditional supercar rules. It was designed around aerodynamics, around airflow, around extracting every possible advantage from physics itself. And suddenly, Aston Martin wasn't just building grand tours. It was now building hypercars. But there was a problem. The Valkyrie was so extreme that very few people would own one. Its production numbers were tiny. Its price was astronomical, which created a new challenge. How do you take everything people loved about the Valkyrie and bring it to a larger audience? That answer arrived in 2019 under the mysterious name Project 003. When Aston Martin revealed the Project 003 at Geneva Motor Show, people immediately saw the connection. The aggressive design, the dramatic aerodynamics, the futuristic appearance. It looked like the spiritual successor of the Valkyrie, but it was supposed to be more usable, more practical, more attainable, at least in hypercar standards. The plan was ambitious. Aston Martin would develop its own turbocharged V6 engine. The car would feature a hybrid technology, advanced aerodynamics, carbon fiber construction, and performance that could challenge the best supercars in the world. Then Aston Martin revealed the name, Valhalla. Now why Valhalla? Because Aston Martin had already introduced the world to the Valkyrie. A name taken from Norse mythology that refers to the female warriors who guided fallen heroes to the afterlife. So when it came to the next chapter, the cameras stayed with the same mythology. Valhalla was the Great War, where fallen heroes were welcomed after battle, a place reserved for those who had proven themselves through the struggle at the time. For Aston Martin, it was the perfect name, a machine designed to follow the Valkyrie, a car intended to stand among the company's greatest creation. But what nobody knew at that time was just how fitting that name would eventually become. Because shortly after the reveal, the Valhalla would begin a battle of its own. Building a revolutionary supercar is very difficult. Building one while your company is facing serious challenges is something else entirely. As development continued, Aston Martin found itself under pressure. Financial concerns began growing, leadership changed, deadlines slipped, and uncertainty started surrounding the project. Suddenly, the future of the Valhalla didn't seem so certain. The original plan had become increasingly difficult to maintain. The in-house V6 engine, the ambitious development targets, the aggressive timelines. Everything was under pressure. For many manufacturers, this would have been the moment to walk away, cancel the project, focus on safer products, move on. But Aston Martin chose a different path. Instead of giving up, they decided to start over. And that decision changed everything. Because the Valhalla people first saw would never become reality. One of the most surprising parts of the Valhalla story is that the original heart of the car disappeared. The twin-turbocharged V6. The engine Aston Martin had spent years talking about, the engine that had symbolized the company's independence, was gone. In its place came something completely different, a heavily modified AMG twin-turbo V8. And suddenly the entire project changed. The powertrain evolved, the engineering targets increased, the hybrid system became more advanced, and the performance goals even climbed higher. This wasn't simply an update, it was a complete reinvention. The Valhalla was no longer trying to become a smaller Valkyrie, it was becoming its own machine. A machine designed to bridge the gap between traditional supercars and the future of performance. And unlike many hybrid vehicles, electrification wasn't there for efficiency, it was there for speed, for instant response, for relentless acceleration. The deeper Aston Martin went into the development, the more obvious it became. This wasn't the car they originally planned to build, but it might become something even better. When the production-ready Valhalla finally emerged, it looked every bit as dramatic as people hoped. Low, wide, aggressive. Every surface appeared sculpted by the wind. Nothing looked unnecessary. Everything had a purpose. But the real story wasn't the design. It was the engineering hidden underneath. Carbon fiber construction, Formula 1 inspired thinking, hybrid technology working alongside a twin-turbo V8. The result was over 1,000 horsepower, performance that placed the Valhalla among the fastest cars Aston Martin had ever created. But the numbers alone don't tell the full story. Because what makes the Valhalla special isn't simply how fast it is what it represents. This car became proof that Aston Martin could adapt, proof that the company could embrace new technology without abandoning its identity, proof that even after years of setbacks, the vision was still alive. And after everything the project had endured, the achievement may be more impressive than the performance itself. The Valhalla was never supposed to be easy. That's exactly why it matters. Because in an industry filled with carefully planned success stories, the Valhalla journey was messy, complicated, uncertain. The original engine disappeared, the project changed direction, deadlines slipped, and at several points, its future looked questionable, yet somehow it survived. And maybe that's what makes this car different. Not just the horsepower, not just the technology, not just the performance, but the persistence, the determination to keep moving forward when the easier option would have been to stop. Because years from now, people will probably won't remember every specification. They won't remember the engineering detail, but they will remember what the Valhalla represented. Aston Martin refusing to stand still, a company willing to fight for its future. And maybe that's why the name fits so perfectly. Because in Norse mythology, Valhalla is a place end through battle. And after years of delays, redesigns, uncertainty, the car ended its place. The Aston Martin Valhalla, the supercar that refused to die.